My name is Harper, and I am 40 years old living in Los Angeles, California, where the sun shines too bright. And people lie too easily. I work as a set builder for television shows and movies, which means I build fake walls, fake kitchens, and fake lives for people to stand in front of the camera. I am good at making things look real even when they are not. I have calloused hands, a worn-out truck, and a quiet life. I live alone in a small house in the valley where the air is dry, and the neighbors keep to themselves. I like it that way. I do not need much. I have my tools, my dog, a big mutt named Rusty, and a routine that keeps me sane. Then along came Derek, and he ruined everything. Derek was my nephew, the son of my younger sister, who passed away 10 years ago from cancer. She made me promise to look after him if anything ever happened. Like a fool, I agreed. He was 15 at the time, and already full of charm and excuses. By 25, he was 26 now. He was a walking disaster always. Needing money, always making promises he could not keep. One day, he showed up at my door drenched in rain and bad decisions. He said his car broke down, and he needed a place to stay just for a few days. He looked rough, unshaven, eyes tired. I almost felt sorry for him, so I let him in. He stayed for 3 weeks. He ate my food, watched my TV, let Rusty out without closing the gate. So the dog ran off for 2 days. I found him at the animal shelter. I paid the fee. He borrowed my truck to run errands and came back with dents and no gas. He said he would fix it. I believed him. I should not have. The real trouble started when he asked to borrow my truck for a job interview. I said no, I need that truck for work. He begged. He said it was for a construction gig out in Pasadena with a friend of a friend. I said no again. He kept pushing. I said fine, but you fill the tank when you come back, and you do not take it far. He promised. He did not come back that night. I waited up. I called. Nothing. The next morning the truck was gone. I drove to the spot where he said the job was. No construction site, no workers, nothing. I called his phone. It went to voicemail. I drove to his girlfriend's apartment. She said he had not been there in days. I reported the truck stolen, but without proof. The police said they could not do much. I had not reported it missing fast enough without evidence of theft. They would not act. I was stuck. I lost my truck. My tools were inside, my work gear, my savings in cash for a home repair I had been saving for months. I could not afford to rent another truck. I lost 2 jobs because I could not get to the set. I was desperate. Then 1 week later, the truck showed up parked outside my house, covered in mud. The gas tank was empty again. The spare tire was gone. The back window was smashed. Tools were missing. And there was a fast food bag on the passenger seat with a receipt from Las Vegas. I called the number on the receipt. The cashier remembered him. He had been loud, wore sunglasses, and bragged about winning. At a poker table, I tracked the casino through the receipt and used an old contact in the business to confirm Derek had been there that weekend. I also found out through the grapevine he was bragging about his rich uncle who let him borrow the truck whenever he wanted. Those were his words, not mine. I was not angry. I was calm, colder than I had ever been. I did not confront him. I did not yell. I waited. I knew how to build things. I knew how to plan. I began phase 1. I found out he was still seeing his old boss at a warehouse over in Burbank, where he used to work. The boss hated him because Derek had stolen tools. Before I called the warehouse late one night, I said I was a safety inspector with the city. I said we received an anonymous tip about unpaid wages and unsafe forklift operation. I said an audit was coming in 48 hours. If they did not fix the violations, they could lose their license. The boss panicked. I hung up. I waited 2 days. Then I called again, this time pretending to be from the health department. I said there were reports of spoiled food in the break room and rats in the storage area. Another fake inspection was coming. I did not stop there. I created a fake social media account and messaged the boss's daughter, who was dating a cop. I said I was a concerned citizen and saw her father's workers smoking crack in the loading dock during shift change. I provided no proof, just concern. I was playing dominoes, and I watched them fall. Within a week, the warehouse failed 2 surprise inspections. They were fined. The boss fired half his crew, including Derek, who had no idea why I still said nothing. I let him twist. Then I began phase 2. I knew Derek owed money to a guy named Vince, a small-time loan shark who ran a backroom dice game in downtown. I found Vince through an old friend. I told him Derek was working 3 jobs and about to come into a big check from an inheritance. I said he was ready to pay his debt. Vince was happy. He waited another week. Nothing. I called Vince again. This time as Derek. I said my uncle died, and I had to travel. I would pay the debt when I returned. But I needed another week. Vince was not amused. 2 days later, I saw a bruise on Derek's face. He would not say how he got it. I smiled to myself. Phase 3 was the sweetest. I went to the DMV and filed a lost license report for Derek using details only a family member would know. Then I went online and reported his social security number as compromised and requested a freeze. I did not do it for fraud. I did it to slow him down. I wanted him to have to stand in line, explain himself, beg for help. I wanted him to feel helpless like I did when I stood in the rain outside that warehouse so many years ago. He started showing up at my door again, this time not for money, but for help. He said his bank account was locked, his phone was cut off, his credit was frozen. I told him. I did not know what he was talking about. I suggested he keep better records. He yelled, he called me selfish bastard. I told him to leave. I changed the locks. The next day, one morning, I found a note under my door. It said, "I am sorry I took your truck. I needed the money. I lost it all in Vegas. I did not mean to hurt you. Please help me." I did not reply. A week later, I got a call from his girlfriend. She said Derek moved out of state to live with a cousin in Oregon. He left without saying goodbye. I said, "Good, I hope he finds peace." But I did not mean it. I felt nothing, not joy, not sorrow. Just silence. Then yesterday, I opened my mailbox and found a small box inside was my favorite wrench, the one I thought was gone, the one he stole from the truck, and a note that said, "Thank you for teaching me a lesson." I do not know if he wrote it or someone made him. I do not care. I keep the wrench on my shelf now, not to use, but to remember. I did not destroy him. I just showed him the world does not bend for liars and thieves, and that sometimes the quiet man with the calloused hands is the most dangerous one of all.